Staff updates.
Good evening. So I just wanted to make the committee.
I'm sorry, please forgive me. If I could revise the agenda and add, an update of, or just add Hall Park to the agenda.
Discussion on Hall Park.
Yes.
I'm cool with that because realistically.
Yes, and I'm not sure if it has something to do with updates, but
No, we can just.
thank you, dear. Thank you, appreciate it.
I wouldn't look at it.
Okay,
Wait, let me clarification, Hall or Hall?
Hall.
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 Okay.
H-A-L-L.
Okay,
There's only one.
gotcha.
There is no Hall Park.
There's Hall.
Okay.
Hall Park.
Well, good evening. I just wanted to make you aware of what the Community and Economic Development Department has been up to for the past month. So the program coordinator and I have successfully completed the Redevelopment Ready certification. So as staff, we've gone through that through MEDC. And based upon the baseline report, which copies are in the CED office, we'll be working with MEDC moving forward to address those areas that the city can shore up on to make sure that we get that redevelopment ready designation. So there are match dollars available for some aspects of that, and we do have like a regional representative through MEDC that we'll be working with to address those areas and see what monies might be available to us to make sure that we strengthen those areas as well.
And which areas?
So the MEDC went through, we did a self-evaluation as a city. So my predecessor actually went through that process with the city manager. And we did a self-evaluation, but then MEDC went through and looked at like the master plan, the zoning ordinance, with the knowledge that we're going to be going through those updates as well, and kind of outlined the areas. So they give them red, green, and yellow designations. Green is a go. That means that those are top and those are redevelopment ready. Yellow is, oh, we can shore up on some of these things and then we can get to a green designation. And red is, stop, we need to strengthen whatever this is, right, and we need to improve whatever the process is. So based upon the components of and the requirements of the redevelopment ready designation, that's what the evaluation was. And so then the MEDC will work with us as a city on all of those requirements to make sure that we can obtain all green designations. So all of that though is laid out in the baseline report. You may have received that via email a while ago, but we have hard copies in the office too. So for the public or for any of the commissioners or anybody, committee members that want to come and get that, you can
but we
receive
have
that.
it in our email, so we don't need a hard copy. We can always,
And so moving forward, what we will do from the office is provide you updates with that process and what we've been doing.
Madam Clerk, do we, when we have things like that available and the public wants to view, instead of them asking, is it something we can do like via radio, or of course at our meetings let the public know that those are things that are available
We could
on the site?
on the website.
That includes all of the activities and projects that are going on within the community block grant dollar.
So redevelopment, well, I was going to get to CDBG.
Oh, we haven't even gotten to that.
No.
Okay, then we're still on this other.
We're just.
I don't know the difference.
Oh no, you're fine.
Learning.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
So we're just beginning the process with the redevelopment ready.
Okay.
Now, talking about community block grant. So
No,
what?
no, I don't mean to cut you off. Educate me more on the other topic that we were talking about, because I heard you mention something about matching.
Well, so there are certain areas that there may be funds available to help us, for technical assistance, to help us to shore up whatever it is that we're deficient in as it relates to these requirements for redevelopment ready communities.
Okay.
So what the MEDC is going to do is work with us to put together our plan of execution and then figure out what technical assistance is available to us to go from either a red or a yellow designation to a green designation.
Okay, so would that include, if there's a requirement of matching funds, the funds that we actually geared towards, the master plan.
So this would be funds that may be available externally. This is not gonna be us using any, no CDBG dollars are going to be used towards this project. Now,
Okay.
CDBG dollars have been set aside to assist with the implementation of the master plan update, but there's none that are designated strictly for redevelopment ready communities. And I don't even know, we're still learning all of the permissible activities through HUD. I don't even think that like the RRC designation would be a permissible HUD funded activity.
RRC, now what is that?
That's that redevelopment ready community.
Okay, so
Now, if you remember, I don't know if you, because we were at training, so we didn't make it to last month's meeting, but the meeting on the 27th of February, MEDC came and they did a presentation. So they were here and they presented.
I missed it.
But the body did pass that resolution at the last commission meeting to proceed with the process. So since then, what I've done is submit that resolution to proceed to MEDC, and we will have our first moving forward meeting next week.
Okay, so, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
So we will be providing you updates along the way with that process.
Okay, Madam Clerk, let the record show that, Chairman Seats has arrived.
Appreciate you.
Our Plan Economic Development, Director was just updating us on, some things, and I had, specifically Hall Park added to the agenda. If I may ask, I know that we had to pay some funds back to HUD in the form of $6,000 that had to come out of our city's COFA. And I'm not sure if, well, I know no decision has been made or nothing has been revised because the commission has not done so. With all that's been going on in the activities of Hall Park, I know that there are some things that you made mention were going to be fixed, like the blacktop, but there are other things that it needs as well, like the rims, and some other things for children ready. I mean, it's one of our biggest assets in the form of a park. Is there something we can do to, Madam Clerk, possibly get together and revise that, those funds?
So, if I may, so what I know at least about the CDBG dollars that have been directed towards Hall Park, we do have a line item set aside for the repair of the basketball court, and it's just for the asphalt. Now, everything right now that is CDBG related has been submitted after review from the powers to be, has been submitted to HUD and approved via HUD. So amendments to those plans have to go through a certain process through HUD.
Okay.
So we can make the ask and see where they're at with that. HUD's big concern about the CDBG program, though, is making sure that we meet what is called timeliness, and that we only have a certain amount of our monies left to expend after the end of this fiscal year.
Okay.
So what we've been working on is making sure that we can expend as many dollars as we can to meet that timeliness designation.
Okay, could you please explain that to the community as a whole as to what exactly that entails, because we knew that for the past 4 or 5 years we have not spent the dollars that were geared in the form of our community block grant dollars, and the community is thinking that we have to have 1.5 million spent, or however 1.2 or whatever it was $1 million spent by a specific amount of time. Can you explain to us how that is?
So based on the monies that have been awarded to us, we have monies dating back from 2014 onward that we have yet to expend. And in order for us to, so all these monies essentially kind of get banked up, right? And then our balance that we have, or our pot of CDBG, has increased because we've been awarded every year. But what we need to do is spin down so that we only have that 1.5 designation of our monies in our coffer, so to speak, by the time this fiscal year ends. So a plan has been put together, and this plan is something that we've been working off of. It's been approved, and it was put together prior to my coming on to this position, with anticipation of meeting or getting as close to that 1.5 as we can. Since I've been in the office, we've been able to do draw down those funds, but we've done draws from August, September, October, and November of 2018. That brought our timeliness down from like a 3.0 to 2.75. I'm waiting, and this week I anticipate by close of business Friday that we'll do drawdowns for December, January, and February of 2018/2019, which will bring our timeliness number down as well.
When you say drawdown, does that mean that those activities are taking place and the city is incurring the cost and await reimbursement?
Well, we're requesting the reimbursement from HUD at this point.
Okay, okay.
So the activities are moving forward,
Okay.
and we're requesting these monies from HUD.
Okay.
I can't tell you the exact number off the top of my head, but I do know that the Bus and Sickle Street Repair Project was one of the funded activities that we drew down quite a few dollars this last draw when we made the request to HUD, and that was a six-figure ask. I know you've seen the farmers market the pavilion is being put up now. So that was another one of our, if you will, big ticket projects, and that project will be drawn down, and we still have 6 figures left to request of HUD. And you know that the farmers market is a joint venture between the USDA and CDBG and HUD. So that'll be another draw. We are working on the home rehab program. That's another one of our big projects, and we have homes currently that contractors are working in major repair and minor repair right now. So all of our projects have an anticipated finish deadline of April 30th, so that we can meet that May 1st essential deadline. So come next Monday, we're like in moving with expedience with projects. 2 of the smaller projects that we have are the resurfacing of the basketball courts at Hall Park and the Frank.
Was that part of, that was part of last year's budget, right?
So what I have is, and it's a little confusing, all the dollars that we have left to expend, I have on a spreadsheet. So it's from 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And we're trying, so projects are pulling from different pots of money.
Is there any way I can get an updated list of those projects?
Yes, I can.
That
I
would be
can email.
wonderful.
They can be emailed to you.
But the fact remains that those monies were geared towards that project, and it hasn't been done yet, but it's about to take place, which is
Yes,
wonderful.
the Hall Park, but the Hall Park project is just the resurfacing of the basketball courts. The Franks Park project is putting in a new play structure.
Frank's Park?
Franks Park, yes. Frank Park.
Wait a minute. How did that happen? Who made those decisions?
Now, see, that plan, every project that has been put into place was put into place prior to my coming on.
Okay,
So-
and you're absolutely right. I get it. But this is a park that has plenty of amenities for children to play on.
The Franks Park?
Yeah, Frank Park does.
Mm-hmm.
And they paint them, and I mean, I think it's, I mean, I live in the area, so I mean, I see this stuff, and it's full of children all the time, so definitely, I mean, if we got the money, I don't know why it wasn't done there and in the Hall Park as well. And something else done
Where's
in Broadway.
Could you tell them what Frank's Park is? So
Brittany Colfax.
Corner of Brittany Colfax.
Thank you.
do you, Honorable Chair, remember making or helping to decide on French Park?
Well, I didn't tell them to do French Park, neither Hall Park. Hall Park was something that they, Hall Park is something that the Park Conservancy was getting ready to do. And we had an agreement with Hall, or the Park Conservancy, on what they were gonna do, and then, the chairperson, Carlton Brooks, came to us and said they had money to do some things, and they were segregated because they had a vice chair, which was Mr. Edwards, who said they were gonna do, who requested of the former Community Economic Development Director to do something. So, if we're doing improvements for the Park Conservancy, being via our money, then there's no use having a Park Conservancy, which we already talked about that. But if we're updating all the parks and giving the money to them, that's something that we also need to know. So if I can get all the updated history on what we're doing for the parks.
Those are the two park projects, but I can make sure that you get a copy of all the CDBG projects.
And if anybody is interested, I'm getting rid of a lot of paperwork, and I have probably everything from A to Z of the Parks Conservancy, all that paperwork.
You chair the meeting.
No, I'm just saying because I think that it's something that we have neglected to take care of or to finish in the form of re-establishing our parks. Since the Conservancy doesn't even seem to be able to even dissolve itself because of the amount of board members that does not show up. Now, I guess we've had a city attorney, and I won't even go there, because I don't even know what to say. But he was supposed to help us with those type of matters as well, as to how to legally take care of something like that.
Well,
I don't
before we go
want
forward, we want to say our chief is just coming to building, our chief of public safety, and he's coming to building, damn it. So, thankful for him. He didn't have to come to our meeting tonight, but we're glad he did. Thank you.
I do want to say before I let the gentlelady of the third ward speak. I know that a lot of these activities took place and were in place before you, as our new director, came on board. And anything that we want to try to revise or add, like the 60,000 that I made mention of, there's no way that money was geared for anything, because we just recently made the decision to pay it back. So I'm just thinking that we can possibly do something to add to more for the children of this community, whether the park is under the Conservancy or the city of Benton Harbor. It's our children that play in these parks, period. And I wouldn't go back and forward like a kindergartner as to, we just need to take care of our business by dissolving the Conservancy and doing what we need to do. But our children need to have safe things to play on in the park. Commissioner Henry.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I went to a Park Conservancy meeting. They are going to dissolve Park Conservancy. So our parks will be our responsibility again. So I asked our economic development, is a park, the maintenance or activities in a park eligible for community block grant money?
I will research that and get back with you, because it really does depend on what the actual activity is. And so there is a long and exhaustive matrix that HUD has. So I will research and get back with you regarding that.
We need that ASAP because they are ready to dissolve it and give it back to us. I believe the meeting is next week, and that's going to happen. So all our parks will be our responsibility this summer.
Through the city clerk, and you have the co-chair here, the vice president you vice president of the what's the name, the Park and Service Agency.
Correct.
Is that a statement that is true that they're gonna dissolve or what?
Be honest with you, I haven't heard from anybody on the Park and Service. I can't even tell you when. Even Commissioner Henry, when she said there's a meeting next week, I haven't even heard about that one. If I may, through the chair, respond to Hall Park specifically. I moved here in 2014, so even before I was on the Park and Service, my whole intentions in my fight was for Hall Park and the Armory. I have been asking for the Hall Park courts to get repaved, rims, and backboard since 2014.
Whoa. We're not, if that be the case, they're a separate entity from the city of Benton Harbor.
Well, I'm going to fast forward.
Go ahead, fast forward.
Within that fight, it's when I applied to get on the board for the Conservancy. During that time, I was vice president for a while before we even had a president. Coming to the different meetings with the Stephanie, I believe it was, Stephanie Sims. Anyway, we went through the whole thing with the commissioners and all, and it came up that when they did find that extra money, that Stephanie then asked me where she asked everybody there any projects, and that's when I mentioned that Hall Park needs rims, basketball court, because there's a hole under the court. Only one of the rims are usable. The backboards move, and for the kids' sake, if you think about it, it is the only park this side of town where kids can go to. French Park already have a playground equipment. They already have the slides and all that. So why if we're doing this for the kids, we're not doing this for the Park and Service. We're doing this for the kids.
So in order,
You said Frank Park has what?
Frank Parks already have the playground equipment, the slides, all of that. They just redid and painted them last year.
now,
Frank Parks already has what?
The playground equipment, the slides, the swings, the teeter-totters.
Do they have a basketball room out there?
No basketball court.
it was never equipped for that.
It
And
was never happened.
it doesn't have a merry-go-round either, because we tore it up when I was probably about 8 or 9. Anyway, the question was the dissolution of the Conservancy. I was a board member, I still am, when it comes together, and had been since its inception. We had a meeting, and not too many people showed up to actually make the decision to dissolve the board. And so we wait. And that's the answer to the question.
The last
Just to
meeting we
keep it
had
simple,
that I
short.
know of, this is what, 19? The last meeting that I know of we had was maybe May of last year. I don't remember having any meetings after that.
Okay, I don't want to spend a lot of time on the Conservancy itself.
No, he has the floor.
I know.
We have to keep this to Robert's Rule of Orders too. He has the floor. So let him.
On topic.
No, he has the floor though.
Yes,
And this is part of the
Mr. Edwards.
Well, if I'm speaking on behalf of the Park and Conservancy, I can't do
that.
that.
Yourself right now.
I just said I can't. On myself?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, myself, my main interest is the kids. I don't care who paid for it, I don't care who built it, but we have kids who have to come from this side of town to go all the way to Union Park or Broadway to play basketball or get in the playground where there's slides or any of that. Why? Somebody tell me.
If I,
Can we get some money from the Ben Harbor Historical Preservation Society?
I don't care where it comes from.
Look.
If I had it, I'd spend it.
if I may, I mean, we have, that's one of our treasures. We have homecomings that actually end up in Hall Park. And it would be nice if some people that have moved away, some of them are stars, would come home and see that we are actually taking an interest in something to reach out to them for $5.
It would help.
I'll give you $5 for every one of them.
Well, you don't, keep it. Put it in the ad and end of that.
Look,
Listen, now, we're gonna do something right now that behooves everybody. And I'm not gonna be a part of this. If we gon' we need to decide of what we're gonna do. Cause this is getting
We were on updates.
well, this is not an update, this is becoming
Discussion.
survival.
There was a question.
Well, no, it's not a question, cause now we're gonna get, now we're trying to survive our
Starting
county.
off.
And we need to figure out where we're going with this. The young lady already done updated, and we need to begin to move on. You got anything you need to say?
Well, there's just one more thing.
Please.
We are working very closely with HUD to orient us to all the rules and the regulations of the CDBG program. We've been to Detroit and met in their office at least 6 hours at a time, twice already. We meet with them very regularly, weekly on the phone, their financial analyst and our field rep. So we're working really closely, and we'll have more information for you the next.
I do appreciate that. I've been on the phone with the HUD rep for the state, and also for Gretchen, the governor's office, who I've talked to concerning the city. We got major other problems and other things that we skirting some stuff. Well, I give you a whole lot of reasons.
I know.
We didn't. If we want to talk about what the major problem is in the city, y'all, tonight at the Atlanta Economic Development meeting, we can talk about it. I mean, we wasting time. Commissioner Henry, you got the floor. Jerry Edwards, you next. I'm gonna get ready to go because I don't have time for this. Cause this is gonna be a circus show. Either we're gonna have order, we not, and we're gonna keep on doing what we do usually. And I'm not with that. So Commissioner Henry, you got the floor. Commissioner Edwards, Jerry Edwards, you next. If any city resident got anything else they want to say concerning this issue, we want to stay toward the topic. If the topic ain't what you want to talk about, then talk about it in the hallway when you get done. And we'll be out of here in a reasonable time. These people are being paid on a regular scale. They're not getting paid overtime. They have been there for 8, 9, 10 to 12 to 13 hours, which is ridiculous. And you wouldn't do it, so don't expect them to do it. Commissioner Henry, you got the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say that I was at the last conservative meeting, so what I'm telling you is a fact about it. And I appreciate the economic developer, but I'll also ask her that if any commission asks for information and you send it to them, would you send it to us all? Thank you.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Jerry Ellis, you got the show. You got the floor.
I'm just hoping that whole part, the children don't get overlooked again on this end. That's my concern.
What do you want for the children?
They need they need the court redone. They need backboards and rims.
So, community, you already got that ready, right? They doing the resurface of the park, the nets, and the rims, right?
There's a list right there on there that you're holding, Chair.
Y'all saying that's in ring.
If I may, Honorable Chair.
Go ahead. You got it.
I have a question, and now that I guess City Manager Watson is back in the room with us, we had to pay HUD back $60,000, and my question would be, can we make an amendment and gear those funds to be used or utilized on something else?
You have to.
Okay, so we can do that.
You're
So we can add some items to
So-
some of our parks.
So you're obligated anytime there is an amendment to the annual action plan in excess of 15% of the amount of money that you get, which was $437,000. So it's right around $60,000. You have to have an amendment done to your annual action plan. So that entails, because it is 15%, you have to do public hearings. And it's almost like you have to get an annual action plan approved again. So that 60 grand that was put back into the into the community development plan now has to go through the same process as if you were starting all over again.
Okay.
So whatever the 60,000 recommendation is, it has to be approved here through public hearings and then approved at HUD level.
Do you recommend that we do that, or, I mean, because right now we don't need that money just sitting as the other has?
As it
Is that
stands,
your recommendation?
as it stands right now, we need to figure out something to do with
Okay.
it within the guidelines.
Can City Manager Watson and, Department of,
Community Economic
Could y'all bring that back next, could you go and request that?
Request.
That we put that money that we might owe them into parks or reallocate it to bring it back to our committee?
We've already done that.
You already did it.
No, the city has already approved that, the city commission
You already
approved the
did that?
repayment of the $60,000 that was a monitoring, finding that the city had on its books. So I wanna say January, February this year, we approved it, the commission approved it, so that money is now back in the CDBG fund.
So
Now-
we don't have to go back
You have to go back, what?
to ask for that $60,000?
The $60,000.
We already got it.
The 60 is there.
Oh.
It
Paid
has
out of our
not been,
cities.
it has not been earmarked for anything though.
So can we ask them to put that into a fundable project?
The project has to come from us. So whatever you decide to do, if you want to do whatever out of the long list of things
Well, I'm
that
talking even sidewalks.
sidewalks is an eligible expense.
Sidewalks is eligible?
It's an eligible
So we can
expense.
take that $60,000, put it in the sidewalk?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Around areas, low to mod areas.
Let's
So,
do it.
but
Every area, but
But again, you have to have the proper, you have to do the proper procedure to do that.
Can we do that?
That can be done.
So we can stop, I mean, even around the parks, that would be excellent. Even around the ways to go to the bus stops would be excellent. I think that even if we put it in the project areas that we've already did, it will be excellent.
Good.
May I? May I?
You said mayor.
No, I said may I.
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
No, so just an idea too, maybe, to address Mr. Edwards' concern with the park equipment in Hall Park. I'm not even familiar with what's there versus what
No.
the
We
community
should
may
tour.
want there,
We should
if there's
tour.
a possibility to be.
Can you
Because what I
tour
think.
with Commissioner Adams? Can you do that?
Yes, but let me just say this, because what I've learned with the Frank Park situation, and even just looking at all the options, there's so many options for playground equipment, playground
Yeah.
design. The possibilities really are endless,
Home
and they're
Depot,
very
Lowe's, everybody wants to
expensive,
say.
very.
Actually,
So-
the Conservancy and its members and some of the commissioners were asked, and we toured all the parks.
Can we do this? I'm gonna ask you this. Community Economic Development Director, what's your name?
Jenny.
Jennings, all right, go Could you get with Commissioner Henry and Commissioner Adams and tour that park and see what it needs? And Mr. Edwards, if he will be willing to show up.
All you gotta do is let me know what time, I'll meet you here.
And we can knock it out the box, so that wouldn't even be a question. So next month, when we come to this meeting, we have a solution for that.
And then we can move it.
And then we can move it to Hood and see if Hood will approve that. And we can go ahead and make Hood Park the jewel that Ben Harbor really needs it to be. I mean, cause, you know, our mayor played basketball down there. Anthony Miller played basketball down there. Elsie Bourne played basketball down there. Chet Jet Walker played basketball down there. Ellis Hud Jr. played basketball down there. A whole lot of people played basketball down there. So I would want us to make that the legendary part of our city. I know Hub Park is another one, but that's Hub Park is borderline. But then a lot of our McCord, you know, the people come from the Highland Project, played down there. Let's make that a jewel. Let's make all our parks a jewel. What about that? To our community, so our kids don't have no excuse to, you know, for the state to undereducate them with Betsy DeVos trying to pull money out of the educational system for special education and all the other things that she's trying to do. Well, we're going to do the best we can in Ben Harbor with them pulling money out of the school system and trying to take up our schools with Al Pashoka's wife. Not Al Pashoka, what's his name, Judge? What's his name? Help me. Lasada's wife trying to take money out of the school system and be a part of all these other organizations. I appreciate that. Thank you. Number 2, update on the apprenticeship programs. You stay right there, Mr. Edwards. You're a part of it.
So Community and Economic Development Department has done a bit of research in addition to trying to get a grip and handle on the HUD situation. And we have found apprenticeship funding opportunity, but it goes through your local community college, not through
What's your
the
local
city.
community college? Could you be specific, please?
Lake Michigan College.
Now,
Now,
you know, I got a problem with that.
Why?
Because you also have an apprenticeship program down here with LPAC. What's this down here that Al Pashoka run? Connexus. And he allocated a bunch of money for him on his own school after he left state rep. And he was over allocation, no, he was over the allocation committee when he was state rep. To put money where he needed to be after he retired, so he don't have to know how to be a state rep. But he now can run his own school to try to benefit the black children of Ben Harbor to go play basketball and get apprenticeship programs. But go ahead, what you said, go ahead.
so my question though was going to be, for this apprenticeship program, is the desire that everything is going to be funneled in through the city and not another entity?
Let's do it. I would do it.
Well, and number 2, what we learned at the Michigan Community Economic Development Association's Technical Assistance Conference that we went to last week, there are communities, we're not to the point to be able to do this yet, but there are communities that utilize CDBG funds, not for apprenticeship, but for job training, specifically as it relates to construction and as it relates to helping community construction workers to get lead abatement certification, asbestos certifications, so that they can work on the home improvement projects through the CDBG program as well. So we went to a breakout session. Grand Rapids has a very robust program, and this is something that they do. So it takes those smaller community construction companies and will pay for some of their job trainings and certifications. Then they can bid on some of the projects through the home rehab program. And it's a community service in the form of job training, which is an option that could be available perhaps to Ben Harbor in time. Not apprenticeship, but it is job training.
All right, so thank you for that update, Commissioner Henry. You got something?
Thank you for giving us that update. I'll say that as great, but of course, the city is not ready to get those fundings or that help yet. But there is quite a few trade unions that allow us to,
Which trade unions you talking, speaking of?
laborers 355,
Have you, they come to the city commission?
no, they haven't, because they wanted to make sure that our economic development was doing the research and that they know that they can gather money.
Let me share this with you, Commissioner, in all due respect. In South Bend, Indiana right now, when they have a project going on, when they have labor unions who are disenfranchised to the project, you know what they do? They stand up to strike. They tell people not to support this entity because they're not using laborers or union laborers. If they want to step up, they can come to our meeting and tell us that there's people who are here who are not hiring union laborers. I myself, I'm a union laborer. My mother was a union laborer. My daddy wasn't. He was a Republican. You know, but my mother was a union laborer. And so if it's time for people to step up who want employment, then they should come up and tell us that they want jobs. Ben Arbor is not providing them jobs. Because we can speak for
Chair, it's not job.
No. We can speak for them. But if they're not coming to us saying they need the opportunity, then how we know if they're not getting the opportunity?
It's not about jobs.
Oh, it's not.
It's about apprenticeship program, which allows a person to learn a trade and get paid.
So you'd rather have an apprenticeship program than a job?
Well, I mean, if you have qualified people to go to the union, you don't have to have a high school diploma. It's not like if you wanted to be an electrician, you had to have this great math skills.
You don't want to have no high school diploma. You want them to just get a job. No GED, no.
I want to ask you if Robert's rule allows you to interrupt me when I'm talking. If it don't allow, please.
Yeah, you're right, and I apologize. You got the floor.
Thank you. It's all about training our people. Now, if the jobs are here, something is happening in our community and we can't find enough people to work, that means we need to train them. And the apprenticeship program train people on the job training, and they're allowed to make a salary. So now, down the street with Alpashoka is a pre-apprenticeship training construction. They do not, once they get out, they might get their GED, but they are not connected to get a job with a union. So.
You don't think that's wrong?
I have nothing to do with that. I'm trying to make you understand that we are going to go at it in a different way. There is monies that we can partner with the union.
Where?
And if you would like, Chair, I'll have union representatives come to your committee next month, and they can give you all the information, especially if we have matching funds that we can contribute to the projects. And it's all about a training. And if they train you construction, asphalt, and one of the main things that they train you is on lead and asbestos and other things. They're notorious for giving us those kind of training. But it works. I was trained with them, and it works. I got an opportunity to work at all of those jobs.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So, if you allow me, I will ask them to come to the next meeting.
So you say you train on lead and asbestos too?
I was.
You still are?
Yes, I am.
Well, why don't we stop the process and?
No, don't play, Commissioner. I would be
That's a yearly, is that a yearly license or yearly process? Well, every 2 years, what is it, lead abatement?
It's a constant training.
Once you get certified, you just have to re-up your certification.
Every year?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to make sure you do enough trainings and to keep your certification current.
Every year, right?
Yep.
Thank you, Honorable City Manager. Thank you, Commissioner Berryhouse. Adams has the floor.
I want to come back to a better understanding of the apprenticeship program and training that you became aware of, and the funding and how it actually works. And I wish that after all I've heard, that we could have had Manchester Bidwell on there.
All right, let's discuss it.
No, I'm just saying.
Let's put 5 up to 2.
No, this is about the trip. I'm not saying that, sir. I'm saying that we're so far behind. And I heard Commissioner Henry specifically talk about this type of training that she just talked about for at least 5 years. And nothing is happening, but Al moving. He been listening. He been listening to everything I've been saying about Manchester Bidwell.
Put the money down.
And so has Connexus. They've been listening, because they doing it.
No, they're not.
Wait a minute. For the last almost 15 years, me, Ms. Hall, the Yarbroughs, we've been going around the country and brought this information back, and to this very day I've been begging my community, especially us, that's supposed to be running stuff down here, the people's voices, to please let's get some inner city training for our residents and their parents. Everybody don't want to go to college, but they're going to need something to survive. And how far are we behind? Okay, I do want to hear, because we're working on some training up at the Arts and Culture Center on Pipestone. And we got some backers that are going to help. And they're not interested in doing anything but education. That's the only way they're going to get in. So I would like to hear more about the apprenticeship program and funding that you came across, please.
The only thing that I have as it relates to the apprenticeship and the funding, like I said, it's a program through Workforce Development Agency through the state of Michigan, but it goes funneled through community colleges.
Okay.
So it's not something that the city itself will take care of.
Oh, okay,
Interested
okay.
individuals will go
No
through
training
community
programs,
colleges.
but just college.
Well, it's
just-
apprenticeship through community college.
Oh, so we still have to go through the college to, oh, wow, I'm sure they got that squared away already though.
I'm sure they probably.
I'm sure, I mean, because they were just awarded 1 point some million, and, okay, all right. Can you send me that? Can you email me that, and I'd like to look it over a little further.
All right.
Thank you.
Y'all down here? You got anything you want to add?
Did you say that you gonna let me bring the union to your next meeting? And
You can bring anybody you want to the next meeting. You can bring the union. Please bring union presidents or vice presidents, whoever, to the next meeting, please. I want that to happen,
thank you.
because we have that apprenticeship program, and we can spearhead that from the city of Ben Harbor, and I want to do a press release that we're going to partner with them to make sure we all get trained and get where we need to go. I do appreciate that. Thank you, Commissioner Henry, for bringing that to the city of Ben Harbor. You've done a phenomenal job. Thank you. Number 3. Y'all have not
No,
enough for the apprenticeship
I have a
program?
question to ask, because it just dawned on me.
Yeah, something we'll add to that.
Is it just funding through another entity that helps to aid in an apprenticeship program? And this is why I asked. I had a very interesting conversation with a big business. And I asked the young lady if she would be interested in taking on some apprentices in the form of an apprentice program. Miss Belicia, up at Robinson Brothers. And she is very interested in helping to train some of those that choose to go by way of 6 feet under as opposed to the fire.
So this one is through the state, this specific
Okay.
program is through.
Okay,
the
but I
state.
guess,
don't know
okay.
what
But
maybe
they may
minimal
have something out
work
there.
requirements.
Point of order.
Jesus.
Forgive me, I'm sorry.
Jesus, for real.
I'm sorry. I'm about to go. I can't do it. Now, you talking about? I'm sorry.
You should be.
Go ahead.
Or you
You
may
talking
be.
about? You talking about the kids working with dead
You
bodies?
may be.
Wow, that's funny.
Oh Lord, I'm sorry. I apologize.
People want to be respected, but they show none.
I apologize.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I do apologize. You talking about if you're home? Get some kids to go out there.
Actually, they may have some classes at the college that leads up to, but I think it's a specific course.
I'm sure,
Yeah,
mortuary
yeah.
science, I'm sure.
Okay, biology and all of that leads up to. I'm not sure, but she was very, she said, I'd love to get involved in helping the community in any way she can. But she's gonna leave it here real fast.
Oh Lord. I'm sorry, y'all. I apologize to everybody who was here.
For what? You
No,
gonna go too?
No, I apologize for everybody who was here. It just messed me up because we were talking about basketball and courts. We were talking about funerals. So,
No, we weren't talking about funerals. We were talking about apprenticeships.
Mr. Aaron.
Yes, through the chair, just to the point of Commissioner Adams, yes, they do. At to be at a certain age, I know in Chicago, my youngest daughter started at the age of 16. And what she did was I don't know the correct title, but what she did was to makeup and the hair
Man, come on.
for funeral home.
Listen,
She
no,
actually
no,
did it
no,
for
no,
my
no,
sister.
no.
Point of order.
Point of
So
order.
there
No,
is-
no, we're gonna stop this. This is not community economic development. And we are not gonna talk about no young kids dressing dead bodies in high school. We're not gonna do that. This talking about on this agenda, we're talking about apprenticeship program. Now y'all, no.
There's apprenticeship.
No, you talk about that at your own committees. But we're not gonna talk about Robin Brother Funeral Home taking no kids
We're not.
and doing dead bodies. Now, we're gonna move to the next issue, which is number 3. Y'all can say what y'all want. Call the mayor, call the city manager, call the governor. I'm not gonna talk about no young people dressing dead bodies.
It may be somebody.
No, I'm not talking about no young people.
Point of order, Chair.
No.
You said that 3 times, stop talking about it.
Y'all done went from
We've heard you say
basketball
that 4
court,
I
times,
was
stop
done.
talking
Mr.
about
Edwards
it.
was speaking.
concrete, drywall.
Mr. Edwards, a citizen, was speaking,
No, you brought it up though.
and I was done. And he was more than,
We're talking about
he
Police
was,
Adams.
I was done.
Point of order,
No, we're not gonna do
I
that.
like to talk about
Hey,
item number 3,
Okay.
update of medical marijuana
Any
application.
update on medical marijuana? Cause I gotta get out of here. This is foolishness now. And I'm gonna say this publicly on the tape. That's the one reason why we don't have this kind of foolishness on agendas. This is ridiculous.
Point of order,
We talking about a young
point of order,
kids dressing dead bodies.
Who said something about?
point of
That's
order,
on the
Chair,
apprenticeship program.
point of order, Chair.
How you?
I specifically,
We're through talking about it. We're going to-
Chairman Seats asked a question.
Can you?
Can you
for
point
Robert's
of
rule-
order me? Can you
No,
understand
no.
I'm calling a point of order?
Grab Robert's rule, or you're not on this committee. Robert's rule of order said you have to be on this committee because Robert's rule of order.
We were talking about apprenticeship
And you
programs.
talking about dressing dead bodies.
No, I said nothing about dressing dead bodies. I was talking about embalming.
Embalming dead bodies. Wow, we want kids to start.
Point of order, can we go to
Apprenticeship.
number 3 and
Hey, matter of fact, you know what? Let's do this. Since if that's what we wanna do, clerk, I want a consensus from this body that we put a resolution out for our young people starting down dead body with Robert Brother Funeral Home.
Point of
I
order,
have
Chairman.
consensus to move it forward.
Point of order,
That's
Chairman,
what
will
we-
you please go to the.
Stop
next
bringing
item?
stuff to this committee that is erroneous. And I'm asking y'all this.
As your opinion and a point of order, please, Chair, and let us continue.
Number
to
3 is
move.
medical marijuana in America Haniana application.
That's another joke. Come on, man.
No, you should laugh.
How do you spell, say that, clerk, how do you spell that?
They spell it in two different ways, with an H or with the J.
Medical,
Really spell it with the
number
H.
3 is medical what?
Marijuana.
This is the
Marijuana.
one that wants to spend 11 million as opposed to 3. How about that?
You got an update on that? Anybody from the staff got an update on that?
And create some jobs.
Anybody from staff got an update from it?
Is it okay?
Go
Let
ahead.
me make sure. Whew.
People that spent their money, somebody
As-
ought to have something.
As it relates to medical marijuana applications, we got medical marijuana applications in. They were the grower C license were reviewed. They were, the entirety of the submissions were deficient in multiple places. They were then given the opportunity to fix those deficiencies, and they were given a 30-day window to get what was necessary.
I would ask if you, City Manager Watson, would do me a favor, and I will bring this to the full body commission to ask any of them if they had any contact with any public official.
Who?
I would ask them any of them. Because if we voted on anything and they have contact with any of us, then we shouldn't be voting. I think that's a conflict of interest. And I just think that's right. And I got a card right now in my pocket from sheriff from trying to interrogate me on stuff that we doing. So I would ask the question. No, I'm serious now. 'Cause
Please.
I'm not going
Yeah.
to jail.
He's right.
I'm not going to jail for none of y'all.
And me either.
I would ask.
Especially
Point of
you.
order, Chair. You interrupted our.
I'm
staff
not,
from
this is
telling-
my meeting. Now you stop that now.
No, I'm not.
No, you
'Cause
stop
you're
it
not,
now.
You're not controlling.
No, you out of order. You talking from the audience, you are out of order.
I know. And you are.
This way,
Wait.
I'm asking.
Honorable
interrupted
Chair.
him. He
Wait,
had the
Can the
floor.
city manager finish his update?
had the floor.
I'm asking the question, sweet, y'all. If
Don't-
y'all, if-
Don't call me.
Let's adjourn this meeting, I'm done. Adjourn the meeting. Plan Economic Development meeting is adjourned.
You can't adjourn it.
I bet I
You
will.
don't have a consensus
Really?
on it.
You got a consensus?
As we
Oh,
were,
okay.
as we
That's two,
were.
let's go. We out. I'll see y'all later. Y'all do it some other time.
I hope Ben Harbor sees this.
Also,
Record it. Please, make sure they see it all.
I
I'm
will.
done.
I will.
To the whole body.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I have everybody in the.
Y'all bring that to the next month's
They
meeting.
thought the meeting was over.
But I'm not
Go
gonna,
on home and eat.
I'm not going home to eat.
Thanks.
But I'm not gonna have chaos.
Chaos has